I am doing great. How about yourself?
I am great. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. We're so pleased to be here again this Thursday. We love being with you. So thank you for joining us.
Yes. I'll be honest, if the intro and the ticker clock thing, that all goes smooth, I am great.
You did great. So Jen does all that. She puts, the overlays on, the timer on. So yay, Jen, you're awesome. Here. Yeah. Cheers. Life, love, and money.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. That's right. Teamwork makes the dream work. So we are here every week. Guess what? To answer your life, love, and money questions. 30 minutes of free coaching. If you want, you can DM us on the Life, Love, and Money Show Facebook page. You can also DM us on our Twitter page, our Life, Love, and Money Twitter page. And also right now, go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Because if you've missed anything that we've said now or in the past, or we're going to say, in the future, and you can't make our show, you want to watch a replay because there's all kinds of amazing nuggets. There's so much great information. So here we are today. We have a lot of stuff going on, We've got some great questions. You want to get right into this?
Yeah, let's do it. And thank you for joining. Hey, just real quick before we get started, hit that share button right down below. Hit that share button and tag somebody that needs to hear this. We're talking about some amazing stuff, blended families. How do you blend the finances? And then, when women use their looks to pretty much find somebody, a man, whatever. So great show coming up. So tag somebody and share. So let's.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yay. Yes. Share this because like I said, there's so much great information. Even if you go to YouTube, you can share our videos from over there as well. So, all right, let's get right into this because we have some amazing questions. Remember, 30 minutes of free coaching. DM us your questions. All right, ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, get ready. I'm about to get married, but the challenge is both of us have young children from the previous relationships. What's the best way we can properly prepare our finances so that everyone is taken care of in case something happens to us?
Yeah, this is something that seems to be more and more common these days as opposed to decades ago, right? So we had the traditional nuclear family where two people got married and that was it, and then they had kids. Nowadays, the way that the world is, we have blended families. And in fact, there was a statistic I saw recently that about 16% of families are blended families in this country. So what does that mean? When we come together, there's a lot of layers. There are a lot of complexities involved because it's not just you two, but then there's children. And then those children are from previous relationships. And so when you're coming together, when you're about to get married, what are the things that you should be looking out for? And this is such a great question because even when it's not blended, I've seen mistakes. I've seen things that have just created problems for people. And so when it comes to the finances, I think one of the most important things that you need to do is sit down and talk, and you have to look at all the documentation. And what am I talking about? Your 401k plans, your trust, your wills, if that's already in place, your beneficiaries that you listed down. You know how it is when you had to sign up for that 401k plan, or you opened up a Roth IRA or something, and then you had to list that person. You have to make sure that that person that's listed on that line item is your spouse, or, and talk to your, it's different in every state. So talk to your advisor, your financial advisor, talk to your attorney. You need to find out what are the rules that you need to do, what are that you need to follow. When do you put that person's name? Because this is what happens, everyone. People tend to not look at this stuff. They tend to just set it and forget it, like that rock.
Totally.
The rotisserie chicken, you set it and forget it. And you completely forgot that you listed somebody. It could even be your sibling or your parents, and you completely forgot that that's who you listed. And now here you are in a new marriage or a new situation, and you don't put that new person that should truly be the beneficiary. And can you imagine? I mean, gosh, Summer, can you imagine if let's say I was in that situation, I get married and I don't have a good relationship with my spouse's brother or parent. And then what am I supposed to do? Argue? And at if my spouse passed away, am I supposed to argue like, hey, that money belongs to me?
Yeah, right. That's going to be so complicated. How in the world are you going to handle that when you're in the midst of all that transition already? And that just brings up such good questions about what happens when you go from the honeymoon stage, so to speak, into the daily living of the actual relationship. What's going to really help that? What's going to help prevent the difficulties or the struggles in that relationship when you talk about blended families and finances and legal documents?
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't even talk about it. They avoid what we call the money talk. They haven't thought about it, and yeah, this is some serious stuff, guys. It's something that people overlook very, very often. You know, back in the day when I was a financial advisor, there were a couple instances where I remember there were some policies where the spouse did not update the beneficiary. Luckily, we caught it because I was like, wait a minute, who's this? And then they're like, oh, that's my ex-wife. And I'm like, and he had been married a few years already, not like really long, but it had been a few years. And I'm thinking like, I mean, I did not make that face, but you know, in my mind, I made that face.
Yeah, right.
Like, what the?
Like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you need to change this like immediately. And I get it. You know, people get caught up in life. There's a lot of busyness happening and you forget, but this is why it's so important. And this is why we're telling you to pay attention to these things. And even if you're not in a blended family, maybe you're not in that situation, it is always important to revisit the things that are so important when it comes to finances, legal matters, estate planning. There are a multitude of problems when people ignore that and don't make the time. And this is a popular quote I see in the finance industry where we say more people will spend time planning their weekend in Vegas than they will plan for the next 30 years of their life.
God, so true, right?
Yeah,
so
it is true.
And what it comes down to a lot of times is just about communication. And I think that's like one of the foundational things that's really important in any relationship, especially new relationships, is setting up that line of open communication to talk about whatever, to talk about your finances, to talk about the blended family, to talk about the kids and how they're going to transition together, you know, to talk about the home, to talk about the spouses and like what you have, what you're bringing into, like, seriously, the value, what you're bringing into, each of you are bringing into that relationship and opening up those lines of communication. Because a lot of times people will just like, you know, I'm so in love. This is so great and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, no, we have to strategize. Sometimes it's great to be able to put it out on paper and list things and say, okay, these are the things, itemize things in regards to like you would itemize like, you know, your weekly financial planning, right? Or your grocery list or whatever, and make sure that you get it all out on paper so that you know exactly what to talk about, because you don't want to overlook these things as you're beginning or starting a new relationship. And then it also declutters the brain, so to speak, where you can get it all out and strategize about this together as a unit, as a couple.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned strategize and getting it on paper. And the thing that we have talked about often is about a budget. And I say that because people tend to think of a budget as being restrictive. And that's not the case. I think this is a challenge for anybody that does look at it that way, is shift your perspective. Shift the way that you're looking at it. Because here's the thing, if you are looking at it from, oh, this is so confining, constrictive, I can't do what I want to do, you have to look at it like, no, when there is structure and when there are boundaries, it actually creates freedom. Because what is your alternative? That you're going to run out of money, then you're freaking stressed out. You're like, I don't even have any money. I already spent that paycheck. And it is massive anxiety, massive stress. Like, you call that freedom? You know,
right.
It's not, it doesn't work like that. When you have the boundaries and the structure, there is this freedom knowing that you are on top of your game. You know what's going on. You know where all the money's going. And so in this case, what she's talking about, when you strategize like, hey, let's come together. let's be on the same page. And the biggest thing too is that you have to have vulnerability and communication. I know sometimes we're all sick of hearing vulnerability, but I'm telling you, values and vulnerability, I don't know if it's because they're V words, but vulnerability and values, when it comes down to it, when you combine those things, like the communication flows with grace and ease, and you have to have that, because it's not just you two coming together. You got kids that came from other people. So now you have the situation where it's 4 or 5 parents, depending on, the complexity of it. And so you got different personality types, different money DNA stories, different money history, because everybody has their own story with money. And now you're trying to come together and combine it. And hey, how do we all get along? There is no way in hell, if you want to succeed at this, that you don't talk. You have to talk about what's going on and how you're going to move forward in handling the finances. How are you going to handle the money when it comes to the kids? I mean, some simple questions that you need to think about is like, if you are not the biological parent, what are you willing to take on? Are you going to treat them as if they were your own? Like, let's be real. That almost sounds harsh, but you have to have that conversation. Are you going to be willing to pay for certain things, or are you going to make sure that the biological parent takes care of that if they're still around? There are so many complexities to this whole thing, but at the end of the day, you have to talk about this, because the thing that is the worst part of it is that somebody's caught off guard. Somebody thought it was going to go down one way, and then it goes down the other way. And then it's like, I thought we were gonna, no, you didn't know. You just thought you were going to do it that way. And that's where the problems and the fights begin.
Well, here's the thing, Jen. I think you touched on such a key subject just now. Thought. I thought. But did you ever communicate what your thinking was? Did you ever talk about that? Did you ever set aside the time to have those money meetings, to have those family meetings? Because you can think and think and think and assume. But here's the thing. If you continue to assume, nobody knows what you're thinking because you didn't communicate it. That's why I go back to always the foundational premise of open communication. When you start that relationship, you want to open the dialogue. You want to make sure that you have things in place where there's always an opportunity to communicate with each other. So I know you said in our previous group about having a money meeting every month. You want to talk about maybe how they would do that?
Yeah. When we talk about money meeting, it could be, I like to call them money dates because it's a little more romantic. Yes. But it doesn't have to be this 2-hour-long drawn out process that you're pouring over these Excel spreadsheets. No, some experts say, at least once a month. I like to bump it up to weekly. It doesn't even have to, it could be 15 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. This is just a point of check-in where you like, hey, are we okay? Is everything, going to get paid? It could be like, is there anything that's coming up? Let's say the kids got like a soccer tournament that we have to spend, we got to go on a trip. Again, everything's weird right now because of COVID, but depending what state you're living to. I'm in lockdown, by the way. Ain't nothing happening in California.
Can I jump in here for a quick second? Yes, I just want to give like a practical example. So my husband and I were talking the other day, and he's like, I'm in my office, and he's standing on this stairwell, right, and looking through the, the slats of like the bars, like before you come up all the way up the stairs. And I said, I've asked you before, honey. I'm like, I've asked you before, is there anything that we need to plan this year in regards to our budgeting, our finances in relation to, even though we're in COVID, there's certain things that we still need to do, such as our lawn care, such as dental, such as all these different things. You know what's coming up. And sure enough, he had a dental appointment and it was $300. And it's like, wow. Were we planning for that $300? Were we budgeting for that? There's a spot on our lawn that he continues to work on. He's like, this year I'm going to pay for somebody to come in and fix.
I love that you.
So it's like, it's so important to plan because I'm the one doing the finances. So I want to check in with him and say, hey, is there anything that you know of that we need to plan for? It is so important because that is part of the money dating. That is part of that money weekly dating, money dating. How do you call it? What did you call
Money
it?
dates.
Money dates. Okay,
Yeah.
so the money dates. That's part of that because it's so critical. But again, I go back and I will always go back to this. Start that open dialogue from the beginning. And those boundaries. I want to touch on one other thing.
Yes.
The boundaries. Okay. As Jen said, boundaries are a sense of freedom. It's not restrictive. Boundaries, if we can get out of that mindset and switch that and turn that mindset around a little bit about how money isn't, or how the boundaries isn't restricting, they're more of a sense of freedom. So let me give you another example. When I started out after graduating from undergrad, I thought, what am I going to do? I had an English major. I wanted to go to law school. Before I got into law school, I thought, what am I going to do? So I took a job, and I took a job working in a group home from 0 to 10 months. It was a 10-month mark that I left. But here's the thing. When I came into that house, these kids came from really, really trying backgrounds, difficult situations. They were part of gangs, and they basically said, F you. We don't need to listen to you. We don't need to do what you tell us, blah, blah, blah. And you're right. I wasn't going to get into a power struggle. It's not about a power struggle. And we can do that with our spouses as well, or our significant others. We can tend to get in, especially when it comes to money, right? Because of our values, of our money DNA. And that's something you guys want to talk to Jen about because she knows all about that. But I definitely know that that's not something that I wanted to engage in at that time. No power struggle. I didn't want that. But what I did do was I modeled the behavior that I had expected of them. Number one. The number two is I tried to communicate what my expectations were. And then I also wanted them to communicate what their expectations of me were. And so I made sure that I had those weekly meetings with those kids. As we progressed and as the relationship grew, as I continued to set boundaries, by the 10th month, that house was flowing like so smoothly. The joy that was in, that those kids showed was amazing. It was incredible because there was structure to the house. There was a sense of freedom. They knew what the expectations were, and they knew that they could communicate with me because that's exactly how I started off my work experience with them.
I love that story. And thank you for sharing that because I think a lot of times people have this misconception that when we talk about budgeting, they feel like, oh, it's restrictive. I can't do what I want to do. But it's like, no, but this is a beautiful example in the story that when people, I think as humans, we don't realize it, but we need that order.
Right.
We can function well when there's chaos. And how many times, let me ask you guys this in the audience, or hashtag replay if you're catching this on the replay.
Yes.
Yeah, but how many times have you gotten into a fight because you felt you got caught off guard? Well, if I had known, if you told me.
Right. Yes.
It's because nobody freaking wants to be caught off guard. We always, by nature, I think we always want to feel like we're in the loop. But when especially when it's a public thing, but when it's something that we could have been warned about, nobody wants to feel like, oh, I didn't know. Like, well, had I known. And that's why the boundaries, why the structure provides that freedom, because you know what to expect. Right. You know what's coming because then you feel prepared, or you at least had the option and opportunity to prepare. You're not scrambling. This is not a situation. Let me tell you, many times in my financial career, I've seen people where it's like being reactive because one thing happened. Oh my gosh, what do we do now? Yeah. This is what I keep saying. I said this throughout 2020, especially when COVID went down on lockdown and all that craziness. Be proactive so you're not reactive. Yes. That's why this thing with the conversations, with the money dates, with preparing ahead of time, it is not restrictive. If something should happen, you know what the contingency plan is. There is so much freedom in that. So thank you for sharing that story because yes, those kids knew what to expect. They knew how you were going to react. They knew they knew your expectations of them.
Right. And I knew exactly what they expected of me. And together we were able to communicate and work on that. And so I love this question because it has so many levels and so many layers that we could talk on this forever. So let's get to our second question, because this
yes,
is
let's do it.
Oh my gosh. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, maybe this is the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. We come here every week to offer 30 minutes of free coaching. We get these questions and we are happy to answer them. We want to answer them. DM us your questions to the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page. Yeah, we want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. 30 minutes of free coaching. Tell your friends about it. All right. Yes. So the second question is, I have a friend, Summer and Jen, I have a friend in her mid-20s who is always on the search for a man with a 6-figure income, and she uses her looks to lure them in. I think she's going down a slippery slope. What are your thoughts?
Ooh, good one.
God, this is a juicy one. Wow. Well, this is an interesting question. Where to begin? Okay. So, it would be so easy for me to go down that road of like 6 figures, 5 figures. What are you talking about? How much money are you really looking for? Just kidding. So,
7 figures.
What I talk about is it really is. It sounds like this is a young woman that has a focus. Yes, she's focused, but I'm not sure she's aware of exactly this is a healthy focus. This is not a very healthy focus, but where in the world did she start going down the road of self-objectification? And this is where I want to really focus my attention, because this equates to seeing herself as maybe a sexual object, a human without choices, or lacking human qualities. And that is significant. To me, that's significant. So I could take this question and I can go into, she's looking for, the 6-figure man. But the big part of this question is the self of using her looks. So at some point down her path, she learned to devalue herself. As she was striving for comfort, or she continues to strive or perceive what comfort is, and she strives for this to a point of accepting that she would trade her free will to be a kept woman. Now that's a big deal. Wouldn't you say?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
God.
It's sad. It's sad. There are a lot of women who I hate to say it, but there's a lot of women out there to be like, well, I don't care. I'm going to get the purse and the trips and this and that. I call it selling your soul to the devil.
Right. And here's the thing, Jen, with that is that, do they really know what they're getting into when they're asking for that?
I don't think so.
Exactly. I don't think so, because and we'll get to a second point of this. And I know you brought this up and we'll get to your points later, but this woman may in fact not really grasp the depth of what she's looking for. Right. So by doing the self-objectification, she's saying, go ahead, treat me like a piece of property. Go ahead, manipulate me, or go ahead and control me. Do you really want to give that choice and give those things to other people? Do you want to say that stuff? Do you want to, in a roundabout way, say to people, this is what I am and this is who I am, and I've decided to go and give you my power?
Yeah. I didn't bring this up in the last show, but I have always wondered, and I don't know anybody I've seen this scenario millions of times, but I don't know anybody personally that has gone through this or does this. But I've always wondered, how does that woman feel down the road? I have a lot of friends that are in the I'm in LA, by the way, everyone, just so you know. So I know people
we got it.
Yeah. So let me just give you some context. So it's funny because I do have these discussions with people that are in the entertainment world, like, you all heard of the Me Too movement, and I've always wondered the Harvey Weinstein thing, casting couch is what we call it, casting couch. Right. And I've always wondered, how do those women feel when they sold their soul? How do they feel years later?
And here's the thing, Jen, and I think the casting couch thing, I think there were some real innocence in that, and they were victimized, right? Yeah. And a lot of these people, they know how to glom on or attach to those people looking for those things. And so they can easily be manipulated, right?
Yeah.
Because they might be young. And many of those people who are on that couch with, like, let's say Harvey Weinstein, right, were young, and they were coming into that entertainment industry and saying, gosh, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to go into a hotel room and sit on that couch and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you hear these things and you're like, oh my gosh. And maybe we didn't have the insight, and maybe we're striving for a goal and we really wanted it and didn't realize what we were giving up to achieve that goal, right? So that's the kind of the second part of my question, or my answer here, is this is a slippery slope. It very well could be. And would I be concerned? Yes, I might. So considering this question did state that she was using her looks to catch a man for a certain dollar amount, it's obvious that this woman is aware of her power that she wields by using her looks to fish for this person. Now, can you talk? Can this friend talk to this woman? Absolutely. But I would say here, now this is really important, is that you tread lightly when you do broach the subject, when you do address this with a friend. Show some grace. And I say this because you may not be aware of what the life experiences of this individual were, what this person went through to think of herself as an object. To release that power to somebody else, or why she's striving to find comfort in this way. And so that's where I take it back to. I really take it back to a foundational thing of, we don't know. I don't know what her background is. I don't know why she's striving for this so badly that she needs to find comfort for herself when she feels like there's no value, like she has no value. And that's a biggie. To me, that's a biggie. I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, getting too woo-woo here. But I think that many times we look beyond that first, rather than looking at foundational issues that are really occurring and the why. And I always want to take it back to here. Let's go gently here. But when you do address it, and yes, you can address it, she may become defensive at first because she doesn't even recognize it. She may be just doing this because she's looking for comfort. But what she's asking for, she may be asking for a whole ton of crap that she's not ready for.
Oh my gosh, you just said so much. And you're right. We do have to learn how to be the bigger person, the better friend, and have ease and grace, because I think this is why social media in general has turned off so many people, because there's so much judgment.
Right.
And we don't recognize, we don't know everybody's story. Everybody wants to show their highlight reel, but we don't know what kind of pain, what kind of history somebody's gone through. And that's, I think, that's the sad part, where I think people have completely lost perspective, and they can hide behind well, I'm like millions of miles away. I'm on the other side of the world. I'm on the other side of the country, and they can't come after me. So I'm just going to blast out whatever, you do you, I do me. I'm going to say what I want to say. And then they just go off and say well, just unfollow me. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, are we like children here?
Well,
and
there's no accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah. And many times there's no accountability. And I like what you said about the highlight reel.
Yeah, it's totally like that. And it is sad. And we probably will cover this in another episode. But the other thing that we were talking about when we were on Instagram was that we don't know, though, if she's looking for this man to be a fling, because this is a huge determining factor. We don't know if she's using the situation as a fling to just get the Gucci Prada purse and whatever, and just go on these trips to the Dominican Republic, or she's trying. Oh my gosh, yeah. There's so much I could say. There are.
I have known one of these women, and I've known a man too to be searching for. Oh yeah, I've also known a man who goes searching for the same thing, getting the money or getting the trips, or being that guy who wants to serve as the nurture, so to speak, to a woman, where he'll get in return A, B, and C. Wow.
He was expecting her to fund all of it?
Fund him. Yeah.
Okay. So he must have been a really smooth talker.
And it's amazing. it's amazing how manipulative we can be as human beings. And that's the thing. Yeah. We just naturally, as human beings, have it's true. This is true. And if you look at human behavior, we are manipulative, all of us, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Even as a child, even unknowingly, we're manipulative. Say, for instance, even infants. So I've done a lot of training, in the psych field in regards to manipulation, in regards to human behavior, in regards to, and so when I was learning and working in social services, when I was learning about children and infants, even when they cry and they want to be picked up and you've got a necklace on, say, for instance, and they keep pulling and you say, no, and you swish away their hand, no. And then you put them down, they'll cry because they want to get back up. So they know just from naturally, organically, we know how to be manipulative as humans. So, it's just to what degree.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So
any hoozle, I mean, these are some great questions. We have covered a lot of material here. Again, this is free coaching. There's 32 minutes already. We give 30 minutes of free coaching. Okay, so let's do this, Jen. Let's go to, because we've answered these questions in depth, please, 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 if you have a question, DM us your questions and go to our YouTube page and subscribe. All right, let's go to our nugget.
Yes. So my nugget of the day is I want to challenge you. I think I've done this for the last 3 weeks. I want to challenge you to sit down and I want you to list 3 things that you love about yourself. And I want you to actually sit there and ponder, like, I don't even know if I've ever done this before. I don't even know if I've ever thought about it, because we get so caught up in everything and the busyness of things. And, Summer and I constantly talk about value. And, even in light of this question, this last one about this woman, look at the things that she's giving up, and she's objectifying herself and giving up her true beauty, internal beauty, or whatever it is that she could be offering, but it's just this external thing. And so it made me think about, like, have you sat down and thought about, like, what are things that you love about yourself? And I think that's such a powerful list, because when you do that, you will remember your true value. You will remember when that boundary is being crossed, when you're being taken advantage of. You will be able to look at that like, wait a minute, I'm worthy, I'm deserving of so much better. And I think oftentimes we forget to do that. We have lost complete control of even remembering to go back to why you are so important. So that's my nugget of the day. How about you, Summer?
Well, my nugget of the day is to sit in silence. Be silent. Try to be silent, because the things that you can actually take in, the clarity that you can receive, the stillness makes for just it just allows for your body, for your brain to really settle, and you would be amazed at the creativity that comes in. You would be amazed at the white noise you can block out. You would be amazed at how comforting and how centering that is, and what you can pick up by just being silent.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for that, because we're so busy that we forget to do that. Like, I have to force myself to remember, oh wait, we didn't meditate. Oh wait, I didn't be still. And I will stop everything, especially when I'm feeling frazzled. I will stop everything, even if it's in the middle of the day and I'm in between Zoom calls. I'm like, let me just get recentered. Let me just get regrounded. And there's so much power in doing what she said, just being still, because it's amazing when you allow your brain to just be still. You get recharged, your ideas, all these amazing things come into your brain because you are allowing to slow down.
Yes.
So it's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
It is powerful. Thank you for that, Jen. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. We love you. Woo, woo, woo. We'll be back next Thursday, same time, same places. Join us, DM us your questions, and also go to our YouTube page right now, please, and subscribe. And also tell your friends about this. We so enjoy doing this, and we're here for you. 30 minutes of free coaching. Again, thank you. And thank you, Jen, for always being here with me. I adore you. You know I do.
Thank you. You know, I adore you and I love you and everything. So it's my favorite thing of the week. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We love you too. Take care. And next week, we'll see you next week with the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. Dr. Summer Watson is the owner of the production and coaching company Core Women, LLC, is a doctor of psychology, has a depth of experience working in both for-profit and nonprofit in human services and mental health, is a professional coach, seminar host, documentary film producer, and an author. Jen Fontanilla is a former financial advisor and now a certified money coach, speaker, and has published 6 books. She has worked with organizations such as the Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Target, Goodwill, and the U.S. Air Force. She loves working with women and helps them master their money and mindset to empower them to build the ultimate life without worrying about money. Join Summer and Jen every week as they go live on the Life, Love, and Money Show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.